Hello, and welcome to Policy Provisions. My name is Laura Armstrong from San Antonio, Texas. Today we will be discussing policy provisions. Now, policy provisions are the rights and the obligations of the policy owner, and also define the responsibilities between the policy owner and the insurance company. Policy provisions' main purpose is to protect the policy owner. Now, here are some of the common provisions, which are the ownership rights, maintaining the policy, the beneficiaries, and the exclusions. So let's take a look at the ownership rights. Now, the owner does have the responsibility for paying the premium or the payment. They have a right to select the settlement option, which is deciding how they want the death benefit to be paid out to the beneficiary. They could assign and change the beneficiary. They have the rights to the cash value, the loans, and the dividends if available. They also have a right to surrender the policy or simply assign the policy. Let's take a closer look. Now, what does an actual contract contain? Well, the contract is simply an agreement between the policy owner and the insurance company. Now, being that the contract itself is one of the most important components of this agreement, the actual policy, along with a copy of the application, make up the entire contract. Now, think of an insurance agreement as an exchange of promises. This is known as the consideration clause. Now, the insured is promising that all the statements and the answers on the application are true to the best of their knowledge. It is those statements, along with the first premium, that make up the consideration clause. Now, in return, what the company is doing is promising to pay. The company is promising to pay on the insured's life upon proof of death of the insured. So an insurance contract is simply an exchange of promises. Now, incontestable clause. This is also in place to protect the policy owner. Now, once an insured has had a policy in force for 2 years from issuance, a company cannot deny a claim based on any statements on the application. This is essentially saying that no matter what the company finds out, after the policy has been in force for 2 years, they cannot deny a claim in the event of a death. Again, this is the incontestable clause. Now we're going to talk about misstatement of age. Now, there are two very important factors in premium determination. That is age and gender. Those are also two of the most common errors made on an application. Now, the company retains all the rights to adjust the death benefit at any time if they discover a misstatement. Therefore, the incontestable clause does not apply to misstatements of age or gender. Now, what happens in this instance? If the company discovers that there's been an error on the application, they will still honor that and make it right. What they will do is simply adjust the death benefit to what the premium would have purchased at the correct age. So let's take a look. We have an individual who applied for life insurance, and it was thought to be that they were 45 years old. In this example, they bought a $100,000 policy, paying $50 a month. In the event of the claim, the company discovered that in reality, this applicant was 50 years old. Now, the company will still make it right. So what they will do is they will adjust the death benefit, in this case, to $80,000, because that's what the premium would have purchased at the correct age. This is known as the misstatement of age. Now, the owner has all rights in the contract. They're essentially in charge of their contract. Now, they could decide to perhaps put someone else in charge. Now, there's two options that they could select if they choose to exercise this option. The first assignment is known as absolute assignment. Just like the word implies, it is a very terminal word. Therefore, all the rights are transferred to someone else, It is a total and complete transfer of ownership rights. Keep in mind, the new owner does not need insurable interest to become the new owner. The second type of assignment is known as collateral assignment. This is where we transfer a portion of our rights to another person. It is a temporary assignment, typically done to select some type of loan or debt. Now, once that debt is repaid, the owner will then be returned all their original rights. So assignment is simply putting someone else in charge, either permanently through absolute assignment or temporarily through collateral assignment. Now, in some whole life policies, they carry a policy loan provision. This is simply where the owner has a right to borrow up to 100% of the available cash value. Now, another provision is called the free look period. Just like the word implies, it allows them to look for free. It's also known as the right to examine provision. This simply allows the policy owner at least 10 days from the time the policy is delivered for them to review it and decide whether or not they're going to accept the contract. If for whatever reason they decide they do not want to keep the policy, they simply return it to the insurance company for a full refund of the initial premium paid. Let's take a look at this example. If a policy was delivered on May 1st, the policy owner would have 10 calendar days for the free look period. So they would have up to May 11th to decide whether or not they're going to keep it. If at that point they decide that they don't want the insurance, they simply return it to the company and they will be refunded the initial premium. So in summary, we talked about all the ownership rights, the entire contract, the consideration clause, the insuring clause, the assignment, which is putting someone else in charge, the policy loan provision. Now keep in mind, with a policy loan provision, a loan is considered a debt to a policy and will be deducted upon death of the insured. We also talked about a common error known as misstatement of age, and the incontestable clause that would prevent an insurer from denying a claim after it's been enforced for 2 years. And lastly, the free look or right to examine, which also allows them to review their policy and decide whether or not they're going to keep their contract. Thank you so much for joining me in the ownership rights segment. I wish you the best of luck.